Hello, and welcome back to 7 Minutes. 7 Minutes podcast, even. The podcast where we talk about games and other gaming-related topics. I am one of your 4 co-hosts, Angela.
I'm Zack.
I'm Dominic.
I'm Robert.
It's this sunny Sunday after quite a lot of rain here in the Bay Area, which I was not complaining about. We have a interesting topic today. It is April 2nd, and the conclusion, or the sequel, rather, to Breath of the Wild is coming out next month. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about our thoughts on Breath of the Wild. We're going to talk about basically our hopes, dreams, expectations, fears, questions, concerns about Tears of the Kingdom.
It's also coming off the heels of the trailer of the gameplay.
That's right. And we can talk about mechanics. That. We are going to talk a little bit about that too. About 13 minutes, really kind of closer to 10 minutes worth of gameplay footage that just aired, I believe it was earlier this week. But before we get into that, we of course have to talk about what we've been playing. Zack, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I think last time we recorded, it was 4 weeks ago. At the time, I don't remember how far I was in Wolong, but I was definitely deep in Wolong at the time. You may remember from last time, I played the demo, got really tilted, deleted the demo, and wasn't sure if I was going to go back to it, and then ended up going back to it and really liking it. Not only did I finish the main game, I went back immediately into the hard New Game Plus mode called Rising Dragon, and beat that too. I'm at a point with Wolong where the only thing I can do is stages or bosses over and over in order to get 5-star gear instead of 4-star gear, but there's not a huge incentive to do that because there aren't any additional challenges available in the game. Mm-hmm. So I was I'd say I finished Wolong, really liked it despite bouncing off it at first. Mm-hmm. But I got really into it. I thought the bosses throughout the game are it's an unusually strong set of bosses. Other aspects of the game aren't quite as strong, but the boss fights I loved, absolutely. I thought the combat was really strong. Mm. Yeah, I mean, I kind of had some grief is not the right word, but sometimes you finish a really good game and it's not just that I didn't know what to play. I wasn't in the mood for anything other than Wolong, but I was also done with Wolong, so I had a few days of not doing anything in particular. I'm currently partway through Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is also a demo that I kind of bounced off of. Maybe I'm just not good with demos. I don't know. I downloaded the demo, tried it out, and I found it. So Resident Evil 4, the original, I never played it on GameCube. I played it on Wii. I played the HD version. I played it on PC. I played it probably a dozen times front to back. And so one of my most replayed games. The remake is close enough that it was putting me in a headspace where I wanted it to be like the original, and it wasn't, and it was throwing me off, those differences between them. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had to take a week break between trying the demo and then jumping into the game properly, in which time I had heard from a lot of people, including a lot of people represented by Metacritic, that it was a fantastic game. So I jumped in. I really like it. I think that I still prefer the original, but that is an extremely high bar. I think I've said previously, Resident Evil 4 is not just my favorite Resident Evil game. It's probably my vote for best game ever made. So for the remake to come up a little bit short is still very impressive.
Yeah.
The things that I think the original does better, I like the kind of campy vibe to it, and the more arcadey feel of the combat. Mm-hmm. The original is a little more reliable in terms of setting up headshots of enemies and then going in for a roundhouse and knocking everyone on their butt. Some of those mechanics are still there in the remake, but I feel maybe it's just that I'm unfamiliar with the nuances of combat, but I don't feel quite as in control of this popcorn action vibe that is mixed into the original. I don't think it's there as much in the remake. Okay. But a lot of the fundamentals of the game are still there, and they're still really strong. In particular, one thing that Resident Evil 4 nails that none of the other Resident Evils do is the economy. There's so much value in every little bit of money you get, because there's so many different things you can do with it, and they all feel really impactful, like all the different upgrades you can do for your guns and things like that. That's important because, like, compared to like Resident Evil 2 remake or the older Resident Evils, there's not a ton of ammo scarcity, but because a bullet saved is like an additional money drop you're going to get rather than an ammo drop, you still feel really incentivized to like scrimp and save with ammunition in ways that still create that pressure. I think it's really good. They did a little bit to increase the variety of the enemies, which was already good in the original Resident Evil 4, but the new ones they have mixing it up are also really good. I do kind of miss the campy atmosphere, but despite that, I'm going to say like this is a really good game. I would have been happy after Dead Space if Dead Space Remake had been the best game I played this year. And then after Wolong, I feel I would have been happy for that to be the best game I played this year. And I think Resident Evil 4 is even better. So it's just like Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16 are my two most anticipated games of the year. They're both like a couple months out. Even if they both suck, I'm going to hate that. But it's still going to be a good year for gaming for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's about it. I played around a little with Destiny of an Emperor, which is an NES RPG, also based on the same Three Kingdoms source material as Wolong, because I kind of wanted something else and I wasn't in the mood for anything that wasn't Wolong. It's all right. It's not as good as Dragon Quest, but it's interesting and it's all right. I think I don't need to say too much about it. It works. It's fine, but it's still only like, I don't know, the 7th or 8th best RPG on the NES, which is already like pretty far down there.
Yeah. All right. Robert, what have you been playing?
Well, I started playing Sifu. I'm playing it on Switch. Zack was horrified by the frame rate. I thought it's fine. The graphics, I think, are really interesting. It's kind of a cel-shaded look, but with like really beautiful kind of lighting going on. The combat, though, is what Sifu's all about, and it's sort of an Arkham or PS4 Spider-Man style, where you can do all these different like counters and stuff. You have a light heavy that you can mix up, do different attacks. It's very much you have to be countering enemy attacks. You can't just bull your way through and beat up everything in sight. You have to be a little more thoughtful and methodical. There's an interesting system. So I never thought I'd play a game that turned old man strength into a thing, but Sifu has officially made it a thing. You can play as a man or a woman, but what happens is as you die, it brings you back, but it adds an age. It adds a year to your age. So you start, I think, at 20, and you can get all the way up to like almost 80. And that's when the game ends, where it's just like old man strength can only go so far. But it's a little more devious with it. Like you die and you add 1 life, but then the counter starts to add more lives the more you die. So it goes from like adding 1 year to now it's added 5 years, and it just keeps ratcheting up.
Is that per chapter or per like encounter or what?
Well, I beat the first chapter.
Because like if you die once in chapter 1, you lose 1 year, and if you die once in chapter 2 after that, you just lose 1 year again, right?
I don't know.
The counter never resets.
Is always add 1 then add 2?
Yeah, you have to either beat a certain amount of enemies.
Oh, okay.
Or fill up a bar to start lowering that death counter.
Okay.
You can get it all the way back to 0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then the next death you have, it goes to 1.
Mm-hmm.
But just if you start dying multiple times.
But you can never de-age, right?
You can't de-age. No, it's just that death counter.
It's
how many years you gain when you die.
It's really weird. Like I get from a gameplay perspective what they're trying to do. They're making it so that you have to like master most of the segments of the game to really progress all the way through it, but is also letting you see future parts of the game without cutting you off from it, right? They could just make it harder or give you just like a limited amount of lives, but it's really weird that it's skinned as getting older, right? I don't know like how to make sense of that metaphor of like you get your butt kicked, now you're a year older.
Arcadey.
It's
not
weird.
So much.
Well, it might be. It might be speaking to the narrative. You're on a vengeance quest, so maybe it's showing you that you're kind of wasting your life away by trying to get vengeance. Mm-hmm. You know, to the point that you get all the way into your 80s and your entire life has gone by, and you're seeking this revenge, and some you might not even get it. That might be part of it. But Sifu's been fun. I was surprised. It was hard to find a copy. I prefer physical, so I was looking for an actual cartridge of it, and none of the local GameStops around me had it. I had to travel out to, I think, Livermore to find a copy. It comes in a nice steelbook, though, so it was worth it. Yeah, it's a steelbook, and it comes with some art cards, and it has like a cardboard sleeve around all of it. But there was that, and then I picked up Crisis Core, what's it called? Reunion, I think is what they call that one. And I was surprised how good it looks on Switch. It's actually a pretty good looking game. It was built in Unreal Engine. I played the hell out of the original Crisis Core on my PSP. I got all the way, I think, to either the final boss or like the second to last boss. And for the life of me, I can't remember any of it. I just remember playing it and liking it and playing a lot of it. And I couldn't tell you what the story was like or any of it. But when I started playing Crisis Core on Switch, I started remembering. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, it has these cool action mechanics. It's an action RPG. And then, because PSP was a portable system, you can just feel how it was designed to be portable. It has this mission-based structure where you can just tackle missions, grind XP, get materia, get money. And it's been really fun returning to it. It's really enjoyable. I actually have not played the remake of 7 yet. I have it. I technically have access to the PS5 version because I have the PlayStation Plus, the Super Duper membership or whatever. But I decided, you know what? I've been wanting to play it. Maybe this is a good time. What I'll do is I'll finish Crisis Core since it's the prequel anyway, and then start playing Remake.
Have you been dipping into the side content in Crisis Core, like all those like missions?
Yeah, I've been doing all the little missions and stuff, except for the ones that kill me.
So if this is anything like the PSP version in this regard, because I played the PSP version of Crisis Core sometime last year, they get real grindy, like to the point where it was actually kind of degrading the experience for me to try and keep up with all of them. It felt like it was really meant to be done one stage at a time, one commute on a time going to work, rather than trying to like get through it, you know?
Yeah, you can definitely make it nauseating if you're just trying to get through everything all at once.
Yeah.
But it's okay. One thing I'm not enjoying is I think that some of the dialogue is wooden, and like the themes that they're dealing with, because the dialogue isn't that great. Like, so there's this concept that like the main characters are debating whether or not they're monsters because they're infused with Mako energy and I guess some Genova cells or whatever. But like the way they talk about it, it just comes across as like it's so flat and cheesy. It kind of kills it a little bit because it is a thoughtful thing. It's like, well, I'm not totally human or whatever. I have all this extra stuff in me. What does that make me? But instead, it's just like this, almost like a soap opera. And then you got Genesis running around quoting Loveless. And it's just, oh my God, shut up. But overall, I'm enjoying Crisis Core. Zack's a cool character, so that's been good. But
not this Zack.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm trying to think what else I've been playing. Nothing's come out recently, has there?
Other than Resident Evil.
Yeah, I'm behind on Resident Evil 4. I keep trying to do the demo and it's scaring me.
oh, Robert,
It's really fun. Yeah.
what do you think of the music in Crisis Core? Because that was a highlight for me. I kind of like grungy cowboy.
Yeah, I
music
think the
in the
music
game.
is good in Crisis Core. It's it's solid. It's a good game. I'm hoping to beat it sooner rather than later so I can sneak in a review on Nintendo Joe, because it'd be nice to talk about it. Especially because I couldn't talk about the PSP one back in the day, since it was a Sony game.
Yeah. So it is connected to Final Fantasy VII as far as the storyline goes.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
a direct connection.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It explains Zack, who directly connects to Cloud, and then Zack's relationship with Aerith. So yeah, all that.
That's interesting.
You know how Solo, a Star Wars story or whatever it's called, answers the question, how did Han get that vest? And no one really needed to know how Han got that vest. Crisis Core kind of answers the question, where'd that Buster sword come from?
Okay. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is, well, it's an old game. Does it matter if we spoil story, you think?
I mean, I know how it ends, so it's
Spoiler, people. It's Angeal's Buster Sword, right? And I'm assuming Zack gets it, and then Zack gets it, and then Cloud gets it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that is how it works.
So the Buster Sword ends up being like, symbolizing honor and what it means to be a soldier. So that becomes the gift that gets passed down from Angie to Zack, and then from Zack to Cloud.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Angie, quick question. Master Sword or Buster Sword?
I think the Master Sword.
It has to be
Like,
Master Sword.
because like the Buster Sword's cool, and Cloud definitely looks super cool wielding it. But just comparing them side by side, I like the design of the Master Sword more.
I feel like Master Sword looks like a knockoff version of the Dragon Quest sword.
Yikes.
I can't say yay or nay because I'm not familiar with that sword, but I do, not to go too much on a tangent here, I like the design of the Master Sword in A Link to the Past, because I think it looks much cooler with a black hilt than the purple hilt, but the purple hilt's neat.
AKA, she says, Zack, fuck off.
Yeah, I definitely like the Master Sword more. But yeah, Crisis Core, pretty solid. And then I think the last thing I've been playing, because I got a review key for it, is I'm going through the Mega Man Battle Network collection, which is also on my, what's it called?
Your Metacritic draft.
Yep. Yeah. I forgot how fun the combat is in those games. Like I just started playing it today, and it's been years since I played those games. Unfortunately, I traded in my original copies back in the day, but it's an RPG. I guess you would kind of call it sort of an action/strategy RPG. You have like a 3x3 grid that your character's on, and then a 3x3 grid that the enemies are on. They run on like kind of a 2D plane, so it's like you're moving in this like left, right, up, down movement pattern. So combat is like real time. Mega Man can go up and down each of these squares. I think the closer you get, the more damage you can do in some cases. You can use his Buster Sword, you can use his Mega Buster, all these different weapons, but the ability to use them is tethered to like chips. And Zack described it basically, it's basically like a deck builder, but they're chips instead of cards. And so you pick the cards prior to each turn. So as you're on the battlefield moving around, you can use the cards you've selected. This meter is filling at the top of the screen, and then that meter says it's like time for a new turn. And when the new turn comes, you get to pick new chips.
It is interesting because it's very old for a deck builder, like kind of ahead of the curve in that regard.
Yeah, it's just really well made. It's a super fun game. Battle Network games and the show and the manga are all from the early 2000s. So it's giving you like little predictions of the future, like what they're thinking like life down the road would be like. And one of the things it talks about your PET, your pet terminal, and how it's like it describes it in game as it's like a cell phone, except it can send emails and you can read books on it, and you could like it's just describing what would become a smartphone, but all from the perspective of somebody trying to figure out what these things are going to be like. And that part of it is really fun, just because it's like sort of feels like what that technology ended up becoming, in real life, but not quite right. So that's been fun. So I guess that's it for what I've been playing.
I played Battle Network 1 all the way through back in the day, and I played part of Battle Network 2, and I feel like the world is really charming. I like the setup of how combat works, with like the grid and the chip selection and stuff like that, but the dungeon designs are dire in that game. Like they're very, very bad. I also found like a lot of the just kind of like running around town dialogue stuff to be pretty unengaging. I wish it'd kind of taken off as a genre, because I do like a lot of the like basics. If like the dungeon design had been better and the quest design had been better, I think it's a really cool setup for a game.
Well, what about you, Don?
Sure. So currently I'm playing 3 games. The first is Dead Cells. It's 2D platformer. It's like a roguelite, and you're basically starting off the game. Every run you do, you pick one of 2 weapons, and then throughout the course, you can pick up upgrades for a specific weapon and new types of weapons. You can either be a bow and arrow wielder or use your sword or hammer, whatever you want. And the story is just kind of like your generic, you're this undead, basically. And so I'm enjoying that. It's very fast-paced. They added a bunch of DLC. throughout the years, and they most recently revealed the Castlevania DLC for it, which I heard really good things about. Now, I'm having difficulty figuring out if it's like a separate game or if it's just all sort of intertwined in this run. Because I haven't even seen an option to sort of play it by itself, like a standalone thing. So I think it's sort of ingrained somehow in the core game.
Have you played other games like Dead Cells that are like, I don't know, like a Rogue Legacy or Spelunky, like other roguelite action games?
The only one I really invested a lot of time in was Hades, which I loved. But I also played like Binding of Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
I played some of that. That's pretty fun. But Spelunky, I only played a little bit of that because it's hard. Spelunky is very hard. But yeah, I love that. I'm loving Dead Cells. I haven't spent too much time in it, but it's fun. And then
I love how fast the Dead Cells feels.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about it as well. It's really fast. The combat's awesome. It's simple too, though. You have a X and Y attack, and then you have your grenades or whatever else you pick up along the way. So you can play however you want. Another game I have been playing is I'm revisiting Mario 3D World again and trying to do all the special stages and stuff. So I got all the way to the end, and now I'm just working on getting like all the green stars and all the gold flagpoles, so I can get into, I guess, the final star world or whatever. Rob, I'm sure you've done it before, right?
Yeah, I've beaten every stage. I just haven't beaten every stage as every character.
Okay.
Yeah. That final stage in 3D World is pretty challenging. I forget which one it is. It's not... I think Grandmaster Galaxy is probably still the hardest Mario 3D level.
From Galaxy 2?
Yeah, but the final stage in 3D World is pretty tough too.
Yeah, I'm liking it. Right now it's just a sort of a grindy thing because I'm trying to get all the, the green stars. And I'm playing with Isaac, my son, so we're having a good time. And the third game I've been playing now is Sifu as well, Rob. I bought it again for Xbox. I played a little bit on PS5 when it came out, but I'm actually spending time learning the combat this time. The first time when I played on PS5, I sort of just tried to run through it, and that does not work in that game.
No.
So learning that dodge mechanic has been real crucial for me, like holding down the L and sort of like bobbing and weaving out of the way instead of trying to parry all the time, which I keep getting into the habit of trying to do. That's helped a lot. I'm at the end of chapter 3 right now. I put a few hours in, so that's good. Now, since the last time we recorded, a couple games I did go through. Pac-Man World.
Oh, you beat
Repack. I beat it. I didn't do the 100% content, but I beat the main story. And kind of like what you said on the last podcast, I like it for what it is. I mean, it's, older style 3D platformer with a lot of collectibles. And then another game I replayed through was Mario Sunshine on the collection. I played through that.
Yeah.
That was, really good. I mean, it's Mario Sunshine. Yeah. And everything they did in that collection is pretty much better. I don't find anything wrong with it. And then I played through Wolong, similar to Zack. I didn't do the New Game Plus stuff, but I beat through the main story, got to the end. I feel like I was a little overpowered by the end. I think I might have grinded a little bit too much because... the end boss was just not that challenging. But I also talked to Zack on the side a little bit. I just felt that the bosses in Wolong felt a little unbalanced overall. Like, it almost made me feel the game got a little bit rushed, maybe just slightly. Because some of the early bosses are way harder than the middle bosses and even the end game bosses.
Okay.
Not end game, but toward the end of the game bosses. What do you think about that,
The
Zack?
two hardest bosses for me were Zhang Liang, the very first boss, and Aoye, the furry cow.
Lu Bu wasn't up there?
Lu Bu was probably number 3.
Okay.
But I kind of felt like right around the time I got to Lu Bu's stage is when the game really started clicking for me. I think that's part of why it feels easier towards the end, is like you just get so used to it. On replay, Aoye went down first try, no problem. Like, I was just shredding him, like blocking everything left and right when I had found him so hard to like read and react to the first time I played. I think like the player just gets a lot better. And because so much of the difficulty in Wolong is like knowing what you can parry and win.
Yeah.
Once you get used to like kind of the rhythms and reading things, it just becomes a lot easier.
Yeah. And just like I said last time we spoke, the parrying window is so wide in that game.
Yeah.
You know, the room for error, it just makes the experience fun and a little bit easier. But to me, it just was more of, okay, I'm going through the game, you know, like a normal game, as opposed to like a From Software game where I'm just beating my head against the wall and having to sleep on it. You know, this game was much more just straightforward.
Okay.
Die maybe once or twice and then go back and bust up some stuff.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like the game, I feel like it's got to be deliberate to some extent based on the difficulty of Zhang Liang relative to the first bosses in most other games.
Yeah.
Like they want you to kind of like make sure you can handle the rhythm of combat, understand everything they're asking from you before they let you play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, my take on Wolong's combat is that like, yeah, the parry windows are pretty generous in this game. And I feel like the game does a good job of encouraging the player to like establish that baseline of like, you have to be able to do the parries and stuff in order to like actually progress with the game. But they also start, I don't know how much you played with like martial arts or wizardry as you were playing. I did like hardly any wizardry at all on my new game playthrough. But
the only wizardry I used was to sort of engulf my staff with flames.
Oh yeah, I did that with lightning too.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, Wolong, it's funny you mentioned this year is great for games. This year has so many games that have came out already.
Yeah.
Between Hogwarts Legacy, that was my game of the year. I mean, I'm like, this is going to be hard to top. And then I played Dead Space Remake, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be hard to top. Played through Wolong, and I'm like, okay, this is it for sure. I had so much fun playing Wolong. I could play it again right now. And then comes along RE4, and I breezed through RE4 because I've been off of work because I was sick for a little bit. I beat the game in hardcore mode in about 19 hours. And so, you know, sort of what you were talking about, the highs and lows of the game. Overall, and I played through the original RE4, I'm going to put RE4 Remake above the original. The way they do the combat this time around is perfect to me. One of the biggest changes that I've heard even in like other reviews and things like that is that in the original, you couldn't aim and shoot and move at the same time. Mm-hmm. Once you raise your gun, you were stuck in that spot. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
This one, you can aim and move. And so there were some times where I'd get into like a group of enemies, run myself into a corner almost. And I'm like, okay, let me back out and, you know, lure them out. And so I'd sprint back to the beginning of the area or whatever. I'm okay, I have some time to, you know, gather myself. I turn around and there's like 3 of them right there. So these dudes are booking it to come and get me. They are so fast in that game. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like forced to pull out my shotgun. So it's just, that's scary to me. That, you know, sense of like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm down on resources and these guys are right in my grill.
Yeah.
So it really changed. Then I'd give up, right? I'd let myself die. I'm like, okay, I got to approach it a little differently this time. And so I just felt it was a perfect balance of that. And then 2 things that I didn't like at first was the breakable knife. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing you'll learn really early in the game is that there's durability on your knife. And at first I hated it. I'm like, this is dumb. Mm-hmm. But it forced me to upgrade my knife. You can upgrade the durability throughout your run. Made that priority. And then I realized, okay, killing an enemy stealthily behind them doesn't do that much damage to your knife. So I'm going to, you know, move that way. I can live with that. Yeah. If they're on the ground and you can finish them off with your knife, it didn't use that much durability. So you start adjusting that way.
And it just feeds back into the economy of the game. It's another thing that like reason you're valuing money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I have to set some money aside to repair my combat knife because I'm going to need this thing, you know, to get through. And then the second thing was the there's a crafting system in this version, and you get resources. It's just called resources and gunpowder. It's very similar to RE2 Remake. Okay. You can go and craft ammo based on how much gunpowder you had or if it was a large resource or small resource. And so at first I'm like, God, I wish they just didn't include that. But there were parts in the game where I may have had some resources left over and not a lot of ammo. And I'd try a level and just get messed up because I changed it to shotgun ammo, and then I'll restart. I'm like, let me try rifle ammo instead, and pick them off. And so being able to have that sort of you could do it however your playstyle fits was pretty cool. Replaying levels after I die with 6 rifle rounds, made the level doable.
For me, I understand the case for it. I actually didn't like the resources crafting as much, but actually for the same reason. You have like the large resources you can turn into shotgun ammo or rifle ammo, right? And I actually like in the original, like I would have a loadout of a handgun, a shotgun, and a rifle. That's kind of like bread and butter setup. And I liked that in some cases I would need to lean more on a gun that wasn't as well suited to the situation because I was just short on ammo for another weapon. And I think it's still very fun to play, but I think it loses a little in how it pressures the player to use certain kinds of ammo at different times. So I think there's pros and cons to that system.
Yeah, I had to pull out my TMP every now and then. It's still trash in this game. But, seriously though, the game overall, it's 10 out of 10, 100. It's my game of the year after everything I played so far. RE4 is one of my top 5 games of all time. And this to me does everything better. There's a few things, it loses some of its charm because of the old voice acting or whatever else. But the way they do the cutscenes, they're so well done. And the pacing and the difficulty level was perfect for me. It was a perfect balance up until the very end. Yeah, great game. So I loved it.
One thing I thought was interesting because I was watching Zack play it a little bit last night was I love that. I love the way that the environment is incorporated into the strategizing for how you fight, because there's some of the obvious stuff, right? Zack didn't do it, but when you fight the 2 gigantes in that death pit where it's lava, I'm pretty sure you can drop one of them still.
Oh, there's an Easter egg about that.
So, but still, that's something to think about. But then just in a run-of-the-mill battle, he was getting chased around by a couple of chainsaw guys, and a whole horde of the Las Plagas. The way that you're looping through chunks of the environment, it's very strategic, because it's allowing you to catch your breath a little bit, maybe refill some ammo, but having to force the enemies to weave through the terrain, such a clever setup. And you might not think of it, that much at first, or maybe even if you play another game. But when you return to RE4 and you get into that grind of it, it's so satisfying.
This is definitely something that's all over the original also. The village set piece is a really strong example of that. The canyon fight, the water room, just over and over, you get really great level design, arena design in Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, the arena design, that's a perfect example. Yeah, it makes me want to play professional mode ASAP and try it either with unlimited magnum or but even still running around in circles sometimes, making sure I don't get pinned in a corner. So once you're in a corner, if you have a flash grenade or something, you're okay, I put my hands up so many times in this game. Okay, this was not a good effort. I'm gonna just die, respawn. And there's this one specific part where I had probably 4 rifle ammo left and a few handgun ammo. And it's a portion where you sort of have to protect Ashley, and while she raises some pillars or whatever, and you have to protect her. But the only way to protect her is with ammo, because they're from a distance. They're not right in your front. I can't use a knife.
Right.
Yeah.
And so every time I died, there were 2 pots you could crack. It would be extra rifle ammo and extra handgun ammo. I'm yes, this is the run. I die. And the next time I do it, it's gunpowder and a first aid spray. I'm no, I'm going to die. So it was just, little things like that really added to it. A little frustration, but I think it added to the whole experience. So
I think I have one complaint from last night. Zack didn't agree, but when you fight, what's the creature that you killed? The one that's chasing you that you have to freeze?
Oh, Verdugo.
Yeah, I thought Verdugo was nerfed in this one. Zack killed him super quick. And I remember in the original, you could potentially not kill him and get through that sequence.
I didn't kill him.
You had to really fight to kill him.
Yeah.
And in this one, Zack killed him fairly quickly. I thought that was a little lame.
I pumped some lead in that fool my first couple of tries. I had some Magnum ammo, shotgun ammo, and about 50 pistol ammo. And I used 3 nitrogen charges, all my Magnum, and I was like, you know what? It's just, I'm not going to.
He still wasn't going down?
He wasn't going down. So I texted Zach on the side and asked him, like, hey, did you beat him?
Yeah.
He's like, dude, it took all the Magnum ammo I had and a few shotgun rounds, but he was able to beat him. So I think that's the difference. That shows a good example of the difference of standard and hardcore, like enemy health and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't take him down. I mean, I ran out of ammo completely.
Wow.
And what, you just escaped?
Yeah, I escaped.
Yeah.
On the next, I let myself die.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm in the mindset, I'm not beating him. I'm just going to dodge him and only hit him when I have to.
Yeah.
So I like nitrogened him and then shot him up so he hid in the corner
Yeah.
and did my thing with the power or whatever.
Okay.
And then he's just a loose end, isn't he? Because like if you don't kill him in either of the RE4 games, you never return to him. Meaning he's just out there still. Ugh,
Well, the
It's
place
creepy.
did. Okay. Never mind. Blow up right now.
Oh, I guess. But he's in the sewers, though. Like, he might-
Oh, yeah, I
might
know.
got out. It is still in this game, right?
It?
Yeah. Isn't it called It?
U3.
Did I miss something?
It's that creepy thing in the trailers with all the big cargo containers, and he's chasing you in and out. Remember in RE4?
In RE4, there's like 3 hanging cargo containers that you have to move through, and this creature is like on top of the cargo containers and like trying to swoop down to hit you, and then you drop the cargo containers and jump to like a cliffside.
Oh, they changed that whole fight. We're talking about the Salazar, right?
No, not Salazar.
Did they get rid of It?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll
I don't want
search
to.
him up.
I don't want to spoil
Yeah.
too much because there is a big change in one of the very key boss fights. And so, what you guys are describing, how sort of that system of going up different levels. I don't know.
One thing I find interesting in RE4 is that it introduces the Las
I thought you
Plagas.
beat him already at this point.
No, this guy's in. Sorry, I just showed Dom a picture of U3. He's in chapter 5. He's in the island in the original. I haven't run across. I'm not in the island yet.
Yeah, he's in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so he is in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought
But,
he was way before where you are at though.
Well, it's interesting because you guys mentioned there's the new cowhead enemy. I think it's fascinating in RE4 how, with the introduction of the Las Plagas, there becomes this fixation on animals. Because you see it in RE4 with like the mutilated animals where they're like, it seems like they're ripping the guts out and just eating the guts. And then he's putting like the cow head on.
Yeah.
You find all these mutilated animals. And then when you get to RE5, which is in Africa, but it's still the Las Plagas, it's the same thing. They're still fixated on
Yeah, the dead
dismembering
goats
animals.
in the very beginning
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
It
Yeah.
makes you just wonder, like, what is that? Like, why are they...
Yeah.
To me, that's one of the most effective things about storytelling, like in games or even movies. It's when you get just enough information to notice it and you're curious about it, but then they don't necessarily explain it. And your imagination just gets to fill in the gaps, and that's where it's more interesting. And
It's
that's
in your
one of those
face
interesting
at the
ones.
same time, not in your face.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't get some like long-winded explanation about it. It's just, here it is, and it's creepy.
Okay, Ange, your turn.
All right. So I've been playing a couple of things. Continuing with Metroid, I've been in just getting through Phendrana Drifts, and I think I'm about to get to this crashed space frigate. Very, very good so far. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about it already, but very good experience with this game.
It's been dropping drifts the snowy part.
Yeah, yeah. So I got the wave beam and all that.
Oh, the wave beam.
Yeah, it's very, very cool to use.
It looks so cool in the remake, too.
It looks very cool.
bet.
It's also extremely satisfying charging it up and using it against space pirates and how they get like paralyzed.
Yeah.
And it's very, very
I
satisfying to
gotta
use.
pick that back up.
Yeah.
Even on the go, I gotta
Yeah,
just find a way to play through it again.
because it's so good.
Yeah. Oh, are you playing in standard or the new control scheme?
I went with the original controls.
original?
Yeah. So that's been a really fun experience. And also, just a quick side note about that, I really enjoy scanning everything. I have a very high scan rate right now because I'm just constantly checking in on even just the things that they make no difference. You do not have to scan them. It's just environmental storytelling, but just neat little details about the environment. I've been enjoying that. I think I got a notification at one point or something that I had scanned some percentage of stuff, and I was actually surprised because it doesn't even feel like a chore. It just feels like something that I want to do.
Yeah. Side note on that, while we're on the topic, when I played the original on the GameCube, I was big on perfect guides and Nintendo player guides, and I would follow along, step by step.
Yep.
So, the past couple of years, I don't use guides anymore. I want to just experience how I am.
Yeah.
But playing through this game, it's funny. You'll have a wall full of stuff that's turning, and I know exactly where to pinpoint my scanner for the red lore or whatever.
Yeah.
Just based on memory. No, oh wait, let me turn around back here in the corner. I remember there's a piece of lore right here.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, though, the stuff you remember.
Well, it's also cool, too, going through your environment and finding things that you're going to have to come back with another beam, for example, or another weapon to break through. Like in Phendrana Drifts, there are things like missile expansions that are hidden behind ice. It's like permafreeze, basically, that you can't break with just your beam, or your cannon or whatever. So that's also been fun. But then I picked up via Game Pass on using Zack's Xbox One. I've been playing Wolfenstein: The New Order, and I've never played any of the Wolfenstein games before. But we talked about this in an earlier episode. Dom had mentioned Atomic Heart and the kind of creepy alternate reality setting of if the Soviet Union had remained in power and then kind of exploded in influence. And unfortunately, Atomic Heart was no bueno. I did not. The writing was pretty bad. The protagonist was pretty insufferable. But I still had this kind of desire to play something similar. And I wouldn't call myself a history buff. Like, there's a lot of history that I'm ignorant about. But I do find, like, World War II, the Soviet Union, like the Axis powers, that like they creep me out because of their just kind of twisted worldview. World War II in particular, that period of time really fascinates me. And so Wolfenstein, I was like, well, Atomic Heart didn't work out, but let me check out Wolfenstein.
Just part of your mid-century alternate history world tour.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein's so good.
Yeah. It's been really good so far. The story is super fascinating. The gameplay is really fun. The world is definitely really creepy. But only issue I'd say that I'm having, and I was talking with Zack and Dom about this morning, the control stick, and Dom actually introduced a new concept to me that I wasn't familiar with, but the dead zones in this game are very difficult to get used to, especially after having played Metroid as much as I'm playing it. Wherever you turn Samus, she's going to turn. Whatever speed you're turning her at, she is turning at that speed. Whereas with Wolfenstein, it's like you're even if you're kind of trying to be gentle on the control stick, you can kind of get the protagonist. I'm forgetting his name right now.
BJ.
You can kind of get him to respond in the same way, but it's just like you're kind of trying to be gentle with the control stick, and then he just jerks and he just moves, and it makes it hard to aim sometimes, especially in firefights where you're trying to be precise, but you cannot be as precise as you want to be because of those big dead zones. Zack tried fixing it, adjusted the settings on the TV, didn't really make a difference. So it just is, I think, part of the game. And it's an older game, obviously. Yeah. So things have improved in terms of gameplay mechanics in this regard, but it is the only thing about this game that I'm not liking so far. That mechanical gripe aside, I am enjoying Wolfenstein, and I am looking forward to continuing on. Depending on how I feel by the end of New Order, I might move on to the other ones, but just kind of dipping a toe in it right now and seeing how I feel about it. And so far, at least, so good.
Because there's Old Blood, which is the DLC for that one. Mm-hmm. And then Wolfenstein 2 is New Colossus. And there's another one. That's the co-op friendly one. Do you remember the name of it, Zach?
Is it Youngblood?
I think it might be Youngblood or something like that.
Okay.
That one is a co-op, though.
Okay.
That one didn't get as good reviews as the first two.
Yeah, I'm not a big co-op person myself, but that's at least good to know. But yeah, so that's basically what I've been playing was Metroid and Wolfenstein. But I do want to 100% want to try Resident Evil 4. I think I was going to get it on the PS4, but I think Zack has a PS5. I can just create a new user on the system using my PSN. I think I may as well just play it on the PS5. but very excited.
In Wolfenstein, the highlight for me was most definitely the gunplay. Mm-hmm. Are you finding that too? Like the variety of guns and how they actually shoot and stuff like that?
And you can dual wield if you want.
The dual wielding is so badass.
It's all just super interesting. The weapon wheel is actually, it's easy to use. Because I've been reading some people's thoughts. I especially looked up whether to see if I was the only one who's experiencing the issue that we were talking about with the dead zones. Other people are definitely experiencing it, especially people who are playing it on the Xbox. But in reading those comments, I was also reading what other people were thinking about other gameplay mechanics and the weapon wheel. I saw some people saying that it was kind of hard to access during battle. I haven't really had that issue. I actually thought it was pretty easy to just quickly on the fly change what gun, change how many guns you're using. So
yeah, it's Bethesda, right? Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Publisher at least.
Yeah.
It's like Machine Studios.
Machine Games or
something like that.
Yeah.
I think they're like
that
Swedish.
Game, Wolfenstein and Doom Eternal are like some of the best first person shooters ever.
Yeah.
The way the guns feel and the impact they have.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's quite an opening too. I also saw some people complaining about the opening because you're just right there in the middle of this air firefight. And it's chaos and you're being told to do this, do that, do this in the cockpit, go do this. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, part of it is, I think, getting you used to this world where there's not a ton of hand holding, and you do have a map and you got to figure out, where am I going? So it kind of just sets you up for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
A very long time ago, I was at a media event for Bethesda, and I can't remember if I played Wolfenstein 1 or 2, but I remember having to sit and go through a earlier build of it. Now it's something that I think you can play on Switch, right? I think it's been ported.
It's on Switch, yeah. They're both on Switch.
Yeah. That kind of covers what we've been playing, and so this is a good time to move on to the subject of the day, which is Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom. Some backstory for those of you who either aren't familiar or just kind of forgot. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild came out on Switch in March of 2017 to a great many accolades. Very, very well received game, but definitely a departure from previous Zelda titles. Definitely a change in the world, it being an open world game. The change from the kind of more linear, you have around 7 or 8 temples or something equivalent to temples, and you have to do them in a particular order. You typically get an item in those temples that then allows you to progress through the temple and then further on into the game. Breath of the Wild completely did away with that and enabled you to, if you really want to and you can somehow manage to do it, you can just go straight to Ganondorf after getting off the plateau. So very different.
And even if you don't do that, you can do the rest of the stuff in the game in basically any order.
That's right. Visit whatever part of the world you want in whatever order you want to do it. So while, most critics and very many players really love this change, some of us sitting at this table at least didn't. And so Tears of the Kingdom is really just kind of building on what Breath of the Wild introduced. So we're here to talk about that. We're here to talk about what we thought of Breath of the Wild at the time versus what we think of it now. And then, of course, what we're thinking of Tears of the Kingdom and what we've seen so far. And I say what we've seen so far kind of with an asterisk because Nintendo has actually been pretty mum on Tears of the Kingdom. They've been very, very careful about what they've been saying about it, what they've been showing. I mean, even the game's official site, it really offers very little information about what we're going to expect from this game. So I think to start off, I think a good question to kind of jump into would be, and it's a 2-part question. What did you think of Breath of the Wild when it came out and when you played it in 2017 versus what do you think of the game now? Let's start with Zack, because I know you have very strong feelings about Breath of the Wild. So
yeah, I might be the most positive on it. So when it came out, and even before it came out, I was extremely excited for it because it seemed to be a return to form to what I felt like the heart of Zelda had been back when the NES original came out. Wide open world, not a lot of structure, not a lot of guidance. World full of mysteries, not much really guidance of where you should go. The thing for me that makes the string of games from Link to the Past through Skyward Sword feel like not quite as much my Zelda is the feeling that there is a sense of should. Like you should go talk to this person, you should go do this. It's like the designer's really leading you through from one event to the next, right? The original Zelda and Breath of the Wild both have more of a, sandbox or open world or less guided experience for the player. There's just a lot of things that the player might themselves decide, like, this is interesting, I'm going to go this way and see what happens. So, first of all, I was like really excited to have that back in Zelda. There's a long stretch between the original Legend of Zelda and Breath of the Wild. And I was very happy with that. I found that the combat in the game, or the combat scenarios, were really interesting in that there wasn't just like one set way to do it. Like, I like Wind Waker, but when you fight a Dark Nut, it's the same every time, right?
Right.
You're doing like a little roll around to hit their back, whatever.
There's a certain way you have to fight them.
Yeah. And in Breath of the Wild, you have a toolkit of abilities that you can use in different ways. You can use some stealth. You can try and knock a weapon away from an enemy, or do all kinds of different things. Use Korok leaves to blow them around. So there's a lot more freedom in how you approach it. So I really liked the combat and its role in the world. I really liked exploring and doing all the shrines. For me, I thought that the replacing a number, so like obviously there are dungeons in Breath of the Wild, but they're, the Divine Beast, they're smaller, and they're also less linear than in the kind of Link to the Past through Skyward Sword string of games. I don't mind them being less linear in their design or smaller in their design, and I don't mind having a lot of the like dungeon type puzzles moved into like separate shrines that are sprinkled all over the map. I think that works for me. So in general, like really positive on the game at the time, and that has remained true. I originally played it on Wii U, and then I went on to replay it on Switch after I got my Switch, replayed it again after that, and I've been replaying it again, so a fourth time on Master Mode. It was like the hard mode of it. I don't think Master Mode holds up quite as well because it just ends up feeling a little more, I don't know, like the enemies are harder, and that has implications. It kind of stresses what you can do given like the durability systems and things like that in the game. And it has kind of emphasized some of the, I don't want to say weaknesses, but I think the bomb in Breath of the Wild are kind of a problem because that's like your one source of damage that's not tied to durability. So it can lead you to, for me at least, it led me to like doing a lot of like spamming of bombs to like conserve durability on things. Right. And that's not great to like encourage the player to do that. But yeah, so in general, really positive on it. I think that it has held up over like multiple playthroughs. And for a game that's as long as it has been, I've still been pretty positive on it. There are things that are definitely shortcomings, I think, in terms of, I don't think the story is good in Breath of the Wild. And I thought that was true back in 2017 also. I don't think the voice acting specifically is even passable in Breath of the Wild. I think that there could be much more in terms of like, even if they're going to stick with like, even accepting the presence of like the shrines and the Divine Beast versus traditional dungeons, the bosses should be better, right? Like the 4 blights are kind of monotonous. Right. And the theming and music, just like the kind of the paint job over the dungeons is kind of dull because it's all just like, oh, here's Sheikah stuff and the same music, right? Yeah. So, and then I just don't love like crafting or cooking systems in general. I'm fine with them in Breath of the Wild, but they're just always something that's kind of like, they're fine as something to like engage with as I'm moving through the world, but they're not really the main draw for me. But the thing is like even with these things that I can recognize as weaknesses, I kind of don't care. Like the sensation of exploring in my own way, doing my own thing, and just engaging with all the different, like there's one of the cool things about Breath of the Wild for me is that you can see intended ways to solve puzzles, but you can also like any way you can solve the puzzle counts. Like you get there's some puzzles where you're like supposed to like manipulate some blocks or whatever to create like an electrical conduit, but you can just like drop like a long sword and get the same effect. As long as it's metal, like it just obeys those rules. And I really appreciate the Breath of the Wild respects any solution you give it that matches like the physics rule set that it has. The feeling that I'm not like passing a test that the designers laid out for me. I'm just actually engaging with the world in front of me. Yeah. That's all really cool. So I don't think Breath of the Wild is perfect by any means. I still have a very high opinion of it.
Would you say your opinion of it is as high as it was in 2017 or vice versa? Or
I would say my opinion of it remains as high. My enjoyment of it has gone down a little just from like having now my fourth playthrough. Like there's only so much of the joy of like a game like this is not just doing things your own way and experimenting, but like learning the world, learning what's where. Discovery. Yeah. So that doesn't stay perfectly evergreen forever.
Right.
I'm ready for another hit.
Okay. Dom, what about you?
Yeah, so when Breath of the Wild came out, I pretty much bought it day one and dove into it. And some things I remember specifically upon first playing it is that opening sequence, like coming out of the cave after, sleeping for 100 years or whatever.
Right.
Cave of Resurrection.
Yeah. And that opening scene, I could rewatch that and replay it so many times. It's just so awesome, looking out over the cliff, over the whole world, and that music and everything. It's just so exhilarating.
Right.
And then you're just kind of given control. And it's a real, true open world game. The first time it's been introduced in a Zelda game like that. I mean, albeit Zack alluded to the first Zelda technically being open world.
Right.
Look, I played some of the original Zelda game, and I mean, you want to talk about discovery. It's like, how the hell do you know that there's a bombable wall there without using a guide or without someone having done it first for you? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
I remember
are you just going to go around the perimeter of the map bombing the whole thing?
Every square.
Or like there's two candles in the original Legend of Zelda, the blue candle and the red candle. The only difference being is you can only use the blue candle once per screen. So I remember like you go into a screen with a screen full of forest, right? Use a blue candle on one tree, leave the screen, come back, use the blue candle on another tree, leave the screen, come back. And it's a little tedious for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just two, different eras of gaming. I mean, technology has gone, crazy since whenever year that was that it came out. But anyways, first real open world Zelda game. I mean, from the jump, it kind of tells you, okay, you got to go to the Temple of Time. Yep. And then do those first three shrines. That's all required, right? Once you're off the plateau, then it's gloves off. Just do whatever you want. We put a few marks on your map, and you can head in these general directions and then follow the story there. Now, I grew up with Ocarina of Time. That's really my first true dive into Zelda, followed by Majora, and then Wind Waker. And every Zelda game always had sort of the same streamlined, get your spiritual stones, get your medallions.
Formula.
Yeah, very similar formulas. And so this was something much different. And for me personally, when I think of Zelda, that's what I think of. So this was something completely different for all of us. And I won't necessarily say it was good or bad. It's just different, right? The story, you follow the story with these memories that you pick up. Right. You could see any memory in any order that you pick them up. Yeah. So there's story there. I mean, I didn't think the story was great because you could see the story unfold however, everybody has a different experience. Now, as far as like gameplay, the durability system rubbed me the wrong way. I wasn't a fan of it. The main reason is stuff broke real quick, like almost too quick. You could be fighting one of the little jelly choo-choos. And it's like, dude, I'd rather go pick up a stick over there and beat these guys than use my, sword over here. Yep. And that took some of the joy out of it for me because it's like, I want to use my sword I just, got that has higher attack than the last sword I got. Yeah. But I also want to save this sword for the boss. Yeah. And then what happens then? I'm saving the sword for a big fight. I found an even better sword. Wait, so I could have used this sword this whole time. So eventually I'm just using my weapons. I'm just going to play with whatever weapon I got. And, because the enemies drop weapons all the time. Yep. And so once that clicked, it was a bit better experience for me. The shrines themselves, there's so many of them, and I feel they could have cut them in half, honestly. I mean, there's so many, and they're all puzzles.
Yes.
There's a couple combat ones, but it's all mind-bending puzzles.
Yeah.
And yes, the older 3D Zelda games had puzzles. I mean, it's a huge element to the game.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the main elements of the game. And I felt that was pushed in this, in Breath of the Wild a little too much. So, if I could go back and just replay it completely fresh, I would probably almost not think of it as a Zelda game and almost not think of it in a completionist mindset.
Yeah.
Because in the originals, it's like I went for every gold scatilla or I went for every mask, all the collectibles. I tried to complete areas at a time. A big drawing point for people for Breath of the Wild was, see that mountain over there? You can go to the top of the mountain.
Yep.
And for me, personally, it's like, I don't want to go to the top of the damn mountain. Why? I'd rather just go on a more linear path for the story.
Yeah.
So you almost have to immerse yourself as, what would I do in this spot? Would I go climb that, if I don't have to?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to follow this path. Oh, I know that there's a horse stable there. I can, rest and cook, get some elixirs or whatever and move on to the next, divine beast. But overall, the game was great. I mean, there's no doubting that. It's definitely not my favorite Zelda game. There's elements I liked and elements I didn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I were to compare them then to now, it's pretty much the same. Story's not great. Certain gameplay elements aren't great. But overall, the game is good. Probably held true all these years.
Have you gone back and played it since 2017? Like, did you do a whole nother run through or just kind of poke around a little bit again?
So I'll be completely honest.
Yeah.
I have probably 130 hours in this game, according to my Switch.
Yeah.
I have not beaten the game completely.
Oh, really?
I have beaten the 4 divine beasts one run or another, but I'd beat like the Goron area and then the Zora area, and then I'd set the game down for a while, come back, I'm like, I don't even remember where I'm at. I'm gonna restart. Wow. I restart, start a whole new one, go the other route, and I did the Rudos in that run, and then same thing. I sort of started again. Like this run, I'm not gonna even. I'm just gonna play like if I'm Link. I'm just gonna go to where I need to go, to try and save this whole thing.
Yeah.
And don't do the side stuff. Like, why am I gonna play hide and seek with this kid? Why am I gonna go get him these weapons for the side quests for 20 rupees?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Open world games at that time, they were starting to be too many of them. I mean, my first real experience with open world, I think, was Far Cry 3, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That game at the time, I'm like, wow, we can kind of just go wherever. There is a main story, but I could go here. The collectibles are showing up on the map. I can just do whatever I want. And then after that, I mean, it became the Ubisoft formula for everything, right? All the Assassin's Creed games became that way. Yeah. And then even with Breath of the Wild, didn't like Witcher 3 come out around the same?
2015, I think.
So Witcher 3 came out before?
Yeah.
The model was already, there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they were redefining anything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I didn't care about climbing to the highest mountain in anything and everything you could climb.
Right.
But that's pretty much the bulk of what I had to say.
All right.
That's a good springboard because I always, like Don mentioned his examples, and I always think of Metal Gear Solid 5, which had a massive amount of buildup. And I believe it came out not that long before Breath of the Wild. I think it was within the same year. And that game blew a bunch of people's minds when it came out because it was a giant open sandbox. It was a mini Afghanistan, Africa. I forget if there's another region or not, but it was a similar approach. You had all these different ways of traversing the landscape. In that case, you had different vehicles. You had Snake's horse. And then how you infiltrated was really up to you. You kept amassing weapons. You could use a sniper rifle if you wanted. You could, just knock people out. You could go in just, no stealth. But Breath of the Wild came along, and there's just something about it where it became this watershed moment that nothing else really had quite reached. I enjoyed it when it came out. I played it. I've played hours and hours and hours of it. I remember being disappointed because I got to Ganon's castle. I had not completed all the shrines. And I thought, well, maybe I'll get all the shrines done first. Because I know once I beat Ganon, I'm probably going to stop playing. And I didn't really want to stop playing yet. I somehow wound up right in his chamber. Like, I was trying to get out. And then I'm there. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm beating the game. So I beat the game. To Zach's point, I do think the narrative's on the weaker side in this game. I do not like Fish Girl, whatever her name is. Mifa, and the whole, like, there's this allusion to some kind of romance there. It's like, no one wants Link with anyone but Zelda. So
I don't want him with a fish.
Yeah. Always with the fish, because Mifa, and then there was, what's her name in Ocarina? Princess Ruto. I was like, no, thank you. But anyway. So the storyline is just kind of eh. There's bits of it that are interesting. There's like little bits of lore that are sprinkled throughout that if you try to expand on in your own brain, you can see potential. But I think a major shortcoming was that Ganon is not built up properly. It's like he is not a present enough threat throughout the game that, like, I don't know. It's like with Ocarina of Time, you got enough looks at him before you fought him. And then when you finally get to him, it's really dramatic. Whereas here, Ganon's, there's a little bit of, like, he's the boogeyman. Zelda's fighting him and all this.
He's not a character. He's an elemental force in this game.
Yes, and I don't prefer him that way. Although I do think the design of him, he's really horrifying. Like, it's this kind of body horror that you've never really seen with Ganon before. Mm-hmm. So they didn't do a good job there. I enjoyed the shrines. I liked that you had these little bits of dungeon to get through. And some of them were bigger than others. I think that it was designed as a Wii U game first, so I think it's just a happy coincidence. But the nature of the shrines lend themselves well to portable play. And since Switch is a hybrid console, that was a kind of perfect launch title where it's like, hey, you're going to have fun playing this at home. But if you're sitting on like a BART train or something and you get through one or two shrines, it's just enough to get you to work, and then you can pause and move on. That was handled well, but the larger temples, the beasts, the divine beasts, again, to Zach's point, too much of that. It's the same. All four of them, it's the same interior, same music, and just kind of drab. Like, I don't really remember the specifics of any of the divine beasts, the interiors, other than one of them where I think you flipped it around. Like, there was some kind of motor thing that you rotated elements. It confused the hell out of me and was very frustrating. And that's it.
The most aesthetically memorable one, I think, is actually the gecko.
I don't remember.
Oh, where it's actually crawling along the mountainside.
Yeah, and that's because
the Goron one, I believe.
Yeah, for a good chunk of that level, it's not lit inside, so it's just your torchlight that's illuminating it. So aesthetically, it ends up feeling a little different, just because you're not seeing that it's the same wallpaper of everything else.
Yeah.
I kind of wondered if there were certain things in Breath of the Wild that are a result of being on Wii U, and thus being maybe not quite powerful enough to implement everything they wanted to do. I don't like that you can't properly swim, like you can't go underwater. The absence of underwater exploration really bugs me. I like being able to do that in Zelda. It was one of my least favorite parts of Wind Waker, and I love Wind Waker, but just being floating on the water, I don't like.
It's funny. Like, I think about my favorite Zelda. My favorite 3D Zeldas are Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker. And I don't like swimming in games, generally.
I hate water in games in general.
Yeah.
So that maybe there's a connection there. I don't know.
So I think, I look at some of the best temple designs. Twilight Princess, I remember when it had come out, some outlet was talking about how at least one or two of the temples almost felt like you seamlessly entered them, like they were just part of the overworld. One of them was the Goron Mines. And I remember feeling that way. I was like, yeah, you end up in that area. And then when you're actually in the temple and you're in the mine, like, it is a temple, but it also felt like a true extension of the overworld and was really fun to explore. And I think that sacrificing those for this game was a mistake that I hope they correct with Tears of the Kingdom. I don't like the weapon durability. I get why it's there, But like the Master Sword, it's like you're telling me you get the ultimate weapon of the game and it breaks, and it's this arbitrary, like you can't use it for a little bit. Like, I just thought that was kind of stupid. It's like, let us just use that sword. Give us some weapons that maybe you can build up the durability and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Or like the durability is just so insanely long lasting that you would rarely have to repair it or something.
Yeah, if they had made it, like if that had been the reward for getting all 120 shrines, is you have like an unbreakable Master Sword.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, something.
It would have retained the value of the durability for like the duration of the game, but then let you end up with something that felt like the real Master Sword.
Yeah. I think they have openly addressed the whole androgynous Link. I don't like it. Like, Link's a dude, and he's a cool-looking dude. You've strayed from the Ocarina of Time design concept, where they were explicitly like, yeah, we want him to look cool. Like, he's a cool dude in this game. In this one, Link's a little too waif-like. I wish he had a little bit more meat on his bones. But the fact that you could... Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, in Japan, that is more of a masculine aesthetic, like the kind of like super slim, pretty guy is still like guy. I don't know if it reads as androgynous there.
Well, I think they talked about it in interviews here. They said that is what they went for in this game. He was made more androgynous. The culture aspect of it, I don't think they touched on, but that makes sense. But I'm saying what you said makes sense. But for Link, just visually, that's what they went for. I didn't care much for it. However, they didn't totally screw fans over there, because the ability to put all these different outfits on him was just so cool. Like, you could have that basic blue hero's tunic, but then there's like all the different armors and stuff you can get for him, and there's all the outfits you can unlock with the amiibo. I really hope all those skins come back in Tears of the Kingdom, because being able to play as either Ocarina Link or Twilight Princess Link, Dark Link, all that was so cool. I think I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, the Korok seeds, I guess?
Korok, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Such an annoying, tedious, like, it was just too many. I mean, I guess with such a huge overworld, it gives you something to kind of look for.
Isn't your reward for getting them all a big golden turd swirl?
Yeah. The golden poo swirl.
Because you're not supposed to get them all. They glutted the world with them so that you would keep running across them. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they wanted you to want to get all 900.
The main purpose is storage capacity, right? Like, for
and it's useful, but it's just I just didn't think that was handled very well. And I guess it's kind of a meta commentary on like collectathon games, because you get the big poo swirl, but it's like, seriously, somebody just collected 900 of these. Give them something worthwhile.
Well, it's mildly insulting to the player, because to Dom's point, if you are collecting them because they do have a benefit to you, why would you then kind of laugh in their face and be like, haha, here's a shit mound, like as your reward for putting in all this time?
Well, there's no winning, because they don't want to incentivize people to collect 900 of something, so like they could have
it already incentivized by providing you with a genuine
but benefit? Like, I think like if there wasn't any kind of recognition that you'd gotten all 900, people would be like, I don't get anything for it.
I guess I just don't really understand what I don't get what this is doing for, because I understand Robert's point that maybe it is a meta commentary on this kind of mechanic is actually not enjoyable for the player. But you put it in the game, and you provide the player with a benefit for collecting them.
It's a genuine practical purpose to collecting them. Yeah. I think if you think of it in terms of game design, when you talk about stuff like a core game loop, with Breath of the Wild, you're getting your reinforcement. It's every time you collect a certain number of the seeds, you're able to go exchange them. And the benefit is, look at that, your storage just opened up.
You also have the immediate reinforcement of just like the yeah-ha-ha.
Yeah, that little thing, the casino thing, like a cute little tone or chime. So it seems a little strange that you have the loop in place and you're reinforcing it. And the player is going to naturally want to reach the end progression of it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, doesn't the map show you that there's some in the area? Like, isn't there something that lets you know, or you hear something?
There's a Korok mask. I don't remember how you get it, but when you have the Korok mask on, it like jiggles when you're near a Korok.
So see, there's too much reinforcement. It's like, if this is truly meant to be passive, not a big deal, then don't treat it like something that kind of is, there's all these things telling you to go. Mm-hmm. And then you go through the trouble of getting all of it, and then here's the poo swirl. And it doesn't even do anything. Mm-hmm. Like, what if the poo swirl repelled enemies? Mm-hmm. Like, Link puts it on his head, stinks, and then all the enemies want to stay away or something. Mm-hmm. Instead, it just does nothing. I just think that was a little bit of a mistake. But I think the overworld is fairly populated, but I do think that it suffers a little bit from feeling empty. It could stand to have a little bit more landmarks. Combat's really fun. I don't know if it's my favorite combat in a Zelda game. I do think that the fighting in Twilight Princess is pretty good. There's all sorts of different attacks that Link can learn, but you can get really creative in Breath of the Wild with attacks, and fighting is really great. And then all the different weapons you can get your hands on. So overall, I really liked Breath of the Wild. I played the hell out of it. I still occasionally boot it up because I never got all the shrines, and so sometimes I just go shrine hunting and messing around in the overworld. But the lack of a compelling story still stinks. Those elements that are missing, I wish weren't.
Do you feel like you like the game any more or less now than you did when it first came out?
I think I feel exactly the same way about it.
Okay.
It's not my favorite Zelda. I still think Ocarina and Majora are tied. I would definitely take Wind Waker over Breath of the Wild.
When's the last time you played Breath of the Wild?
A few months ago. I popped it in.
Okay.
Running around.
All right.
Well, for me, Breath of the Wild was a big disappointment. It's not the most disappointing Zelda game I've ever played. That dishonor probably goes to Phantom Hourglass. But the last time I remember being this disappointed by a Zelda game was Skyward Sword. And I put
immediately preceding console Zelda.
Yeah, like I put like 130 hours into Skyward Sword. So it's not like I gave up. I mean, I went all the way and then some. Beat the game, did a bunch of unlockables. So I was hoping for a better experience with Skyward Sword. With Breath of the Wild, because I was so disappointed by Skyward Sword. I'd say I like Breath of the Wild more than Skyward, but at the end of the day, it was a miss for me. And it's disappointing when you have a bunch of hype for a Zelda game. Zelda is your favorite series, and it just kind of lets you down. And to echo a lot of what's already been said, when I think of Breath of the Wild, one of the first things I think of is the breakables mechanic. It's very frustrating. I hated an Animal Crossing. I don't need you to Animal Crossing my Zelda, or Zelda my Animal Crossing, since Animal Crossing came out later. But it's just this mechanic that Nintendo wants you to love. They want you to have affection for it. They want you to think that it's like a fun challenge. It's not for me. It's just a nuisance. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to keep track of weapon durability on top of making sure that I'm not going to die in this battle. I just want to fight and move on. And maybe that makes me some sort of just like low IQ, just big dummy who wants to fight. Sure, whatever. I'll take it. I don't care. I just cannot stand that mechanic. And then when I realized it applied to the Master Sword, I wanted to just stop. There was a period where I was just like, this, I don't even know if I want to continue on with this. The Master Sword is the blade of evil's bane. Now, we've already had instances in Zelda games where the Master Sword is not at full power, or it's technically quote-unquote broken, like in Wind Waker. And then there's some of that in Skyward where it's like it's not at full capacity, whatever.
Twilight Princess 2, no?
Is there... I can't remember. It's been a little while since I played it. But yeah, I mean, so it's not like a totally foreign concept, but the concept of breakability, so to speak, that is... Yeah. And that is just so frustrating for me for this supposedly legendary sword. I also have to echo the sentiment of feeling like the environment is somewhat bland. The theming is very one note. It's obviously the Sheikah-inspired thing. And obviously, I understand why they lean so heavily into the Sheikah elements. The whole story revolves around it. But everything just feels so one note. And especially because the overworld is decimated. The human population has been decimated. That's intentional. They want you to feel that loneliness, that solitude that you get in the original Zelda. But for a modern game with such a huge overworld, it doesn't really work. And it's not the best fit. Because it's like, okay, well, what else can I do here other than just exploring shrines and And to Dom's point, climbing that distant mountaintop. I don't care about that kind of thing. Or for a lot of people, there's a lure in using all the different Sheikah tablet abilities to like screw around in the overworld, launch yourself into the sky or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from people who like that, but it's not something I'm interested in at all. So that being a draw for the game isn't really a draw for me. When I think back on previous Zelda games and the different temples and the different themes to each temple and all of the creativity that went into the theming of each, the weapons that you can find in each, the puzzles in each, you look forward to it. It's like, so these were the temples in Ocarina. I wonder what's coming in Majora. I wonder what's coming in Twilight Princess, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was just very disappointing. The characters, there were so many characters, again, Nintendo wanted you to love. Like Purah, Mipha, Sidon. I couldn't care less about any of these characters. And some of them were irredeemable. What's his name? Rivali. Dude's just an asshole. Like, he's not even like a likable asshole. There are plenty of those in different media. He was not. It was just like, bro, I don't even want to deal with you right now. Like, you're not even, I don't even like you. There's nothing about you I really like. And the storytelling, I just remember beating the game, getting to the end, and just feeling like it was so anticlimactic. There was just so much, in literature, they like to say, what's the so what? I couldn't tell you really what the so what was. I mean, I could if I had to sit here and analyze it, but the so what was not meaningful. Mm-hmm. It's just Link and Zelda at the end looking out at the just still ruined landscape and just being like, yep, we killed Ganondorf. Yay. And yeah, I mean, the shrines, I was actually just talking to Zack about this recently. They also feel one note. You know what they kind of remind me of is like those games you can get on Switch, like those like Zen games where you can like stack stuff and there's like, a little fountain in the background,
Zen Art of Balanced Touch by Shine-In, thank you.
Yeah, like that, or, just those kind of like sort of not super well developed kind of puzzles. I'm not saying that the puzzles aren't well developed. They are, but they just remind me of that, of those kind of Zen, play this for 10 minutes to just kind of zone out sort of puzzles.
Like 120 games within a game.
Yes, exactly. And again, it just doesn't really feel very Zelda to me. And I don't want to skip ahead too much, but when I watched the 10-minute gameplay, I was like, yep, this is just, again, it feels like they're turning Zelda into this sandbox to just do cool, funky stuff in. And it's less about the story. It's less about being invested in the characters. And it's not like every Zelda game's had the most fantastic storytelling. There are definitely games where it's a little on the weaker side, but you care about those characters. You're invested in the world and the outcome. I did not feel invested at all. Plus, how do you build investment when you're telling players you can skip all of this? You can totally skip everything and just go beat Ganondorf. And if all you want to do is screw around in this world and blow stuff up and launch yourself into the sky, you can. You're not building investment in characters or the world that way. And unfortunately, I think it shows in the quality of the storytelling. I'm not so down on the voice acting like Zack is. I do think that Zelda's could be a little better. I don't hate it. Mm-hmm. But there are definitely, it definitely could have been better.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it. But I think if you're going to tout that as like one of the selling points of this game is it's fully, so to speak, fully voice acted for the first time ever, you should make sure that it's of the highest quality. How are you going to have middling voice acting? So
yeah, Nintendo can afford better.
Yeah. So in terms of my feelings then versus now, when I was playing it, I was super hyped and jazzed for it. And as I went through it and finished it, it was a letdown. And I haven't gone back and done another playthrough since. I have poked around a little bit in the world again, seeing if maybe my feelings kind of changed. They didn't.
So the last time you played was in 2017?
A true playthrough, yes. Yeah. Only ever in 2017. And then poked around a little bit since.
I think one of the biggest sins of Breath of the Wild is that letdown with the narrative. Because they put so much thought into all these characters and their designs. You get voice actors for them. And it just feels like there's this sort of vague mystery at the heart of everything that you don't get any solid details or like true final answers about. And it's like, so why build up any of that hype? I mean, it just seems, I don't know, almost like a betrayal to the player a little bit. It's like, you know, this like Link being in the cave of restoration, resurrection. I don't know. Just that whole part of it was a little annoying because, like, Zelda games in general do that. Like, they don't give you the strongest narrative.
I think they
give you enough narrative, but in this game, it's like I don't think they gave you enough.
I think there are answers to these questions. I don't think they leave that dangling. It's just not very interesting. It's just like kind of like basic tropes, and that's it.
One of the strangest things too is like a lot of the background with Zelda you won't even get unless you gather all those pictures. So like you could go through the whole game, never do that photo quest, and then you miss out on a huge chunk of background.
Yeah. And
that's a little odd.
One thing I forgot to touch on was Link's overall look. Robert has mentioned this in the past. I don't know if it's been on the podcast, but he and I have discussed this, talking about how it went from like Link's standard look is the green tunic, and then like in Ocarina you get the Master Sword, you know, maybe after the first third of the game, and the Hylian shield's your standard shield, and then you get everything else cool after that, like the Mirror Shield or Begoron Sword or whatever. But now it's getting to the point where you look like a dork. You look like just this loser for most of the game with like these generic weapons that you have no connection to, or just they're forgettable. And then it's not till almost the end that you finally get the Master Sword, you finally get the Hylian shield, you finally look cool. And I felt that way with Breath of the Wild, where it's like I don't want to look like a barbarian. I don't want to look like a pirate. I don't want to look like a freaking loser. I just want to look like Link. And I don't necessarily have a problem with the Champion's tunic. I do have to agree with Robert that I felt like Link looked too soft. He doesn't seem intimidating. It's like, I get that he's supposed to just be the everyman. He always is supposed to be the everyman, but you do want your hero, your protagonist, to feel like to look like he is a little intimidating, and he just kind of looks just a little whatever. And I wasn't big on that. All right, so this is a good point to move on to the final question here, which is, and again, it's a two-parter. How do you currently feel about Tears of the Kingdom based on the marketing that we've seen, the trailers, the gameplay, and what do you want from Tears of the Kingdom? Dom, let's start with you this time. Okay.
Sure. So kind of to Angie's point earlier in the podcast, Nintendo's been pretty set on hiding most of the game. The story, the combat. I mean, we've only seen combat we've seen in Breath of the Wild pretty much as far as enemy variety and stuff like that. I haven't really seen any new enemies other than that one lizard-looking thing. Or was it a lizard-looking thing?
No, it's like a golem of some kind.
Like it looks like a... Yeah, anyways, they introduced it in the last trailer, the most recent one.
Yeah, the constructs.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a weird name for it.
So, I mean, as far as my thoughts of the game itself, I'm just really hopeful that they'll improve upon a lot of the complaints of the consumer. I think for us, or for the majority of the table, who is not a fan of like the durability part of the game, I don't think there's enough of us to warrant much of a change there. I think it was either split 60-40 or worse in our case.
Yeah.
I think because I mean the reviews kind of speak for it. I mean there's 10s across every outlet. Even the user reviews are really high.
Yeah.
So for Tears of the Kingdom, I just hope they improve upon certain things, like maybe an option to find those elixirs or weapons that don't break, or elixirs to apply that increase durability, something, to sort of help us there. I hope there's more of a story element behind it. A little bit more of a linear path would be nice, I think. Again, I don't anticipate this. My hopes are, my expectations are sort of set that there won't be much change to the formula.
Yeah.
I'm anticipating a very open world again with lots of shrines.
Yep.
But this time they're in the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
upon first glance at some of these trailers, I can't help but feel it reads Breath of the Wild DLC. I hope I'm proven wrong in that.
Yeah.
But that's just more so what I'm leaning towards as far as setting my expectations for it.
Yeah.
Now, a couple things in the trailer that sort of add to, I wouldn't say my disappointment, but, my already uneasy, feelings towards it, is like the craftable ships you can make and the fusing system that they introduced in the trailer. That stuff to me just screams like gimmicky. Like it's not something that I'm going to look forward to at all in this game. I just feel like we've had it. There are games that I can play that are like that.
Yes.
Like I think it's called, I'm just trying to use an example like that. Can't remember right now, but you can almost build your own space station, right? And you can fuse all these things together and create whatever you want, there are games I could play like that, and I don't really want that in a Zelda game.
Yeah.
It's almost like Zelda meets Minecraft. Like, you know what I mean? I don't need that.
Yeah.
And so, attaching fans to logs and making a boat, that may attract the younger audience or a different audience than me. But to me, I'm like, no, just spend more time on that story and the combat, and I'm happy. You know what I mean? You don't need to add all these elements. Some of it does look pretty cool, like the grafting of weapons looks pretty interesting. We saw him attach the tree branch and the boulder in the trailer. Yeah, looks cool. Hopefully they don't put too much of an emphasis on that. It's more of, you can play like this if you want. If you want all this, extra stuff, go for it. Yeah. If you want to just roll through the story and do the shrines or whatever new, thing they're introducing, just do it that way.
Yeah.
But my expectations are not that high. I'm hoping I like it more than Breath of the Wild. Trying to think if there was anything else in the latest trailer. I think the sky, transitioning to the sky was pretty cool with that new ability or whatever, and then getting to the top of mountains in a cave rather than climbing it up. So those seemed like traversal improvements that are welcomed, in my opinion. But that's all they really were to me. There wasn't really anything from the trailer that's just screaming sequel better than the last, But again, they're very vague with it. They're not getting too much into the story. So, I guess we'll just see.
On replays of Breath of the Wild, I've actually prioritized going to the Rito area first to get Rivali's Gale, specifically to spend less time climbing, because I think the vertical traversal is not as fun. So
if it rains, forget about it.
Yeah.
Like, I hated that part of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
That was a poor design decision.
Yeah.
Like the rain.
Yeah.
Like why you would just allow it to be so constant, knowing that it's a huge part of exploration. It's like you don't gain anything from that. It's an impediment that serves no real purpose.
It works in like the kind of linear section where it's used on the climb to Zora's domain.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But use it sometimes.
Yeah.
But it felt like almost every time you started climbing, here comes some rain. And it's just like, really, man? Like, I just want to get to this point.
Especially midway through the tall-ass mountain that you said, oh, yeah, see that mountain over there? You can climb it.
Right.
Well, I'm trying.
Yeah, it's a little contrary.
And it was sunny when I started climbing this wall.
Yeah, it's not like in Ocarina of Time when you're trying to traverse Death Mountain for the first time, and there's the falling volcanic rock.
Right.
Eventually, that stops. It's not every single time you try and traverse Death Mountain, you have to stop and crouch and wait for the rocks to pass.
Yeah. So,
but in Breath of the Wild, they're like, no, it's going to be constant.
Yeah, and even in example, in the mountain in Ocarina, you can still do it. All you have to do is crouch every time the shadow gets big.
Right.
In this, you can't because you slide.
Yeah.
There's no way to, unless it's like one of those mountains that sort of, there's a resting spot here and there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if it's just a straight up mountain, you can't do it.
No.
There's no way.
yeah, if anyone here is thinking about replaying Breath of the Wild, go to the Rito area first, because it's like a huge boon to exploration to get Rivali's Gale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember getting that ability. I'm like, man, this would have been helpful in the volcano area.
Yeah. Well, Robert, what about you?
Well, to Dom's point, and I'll finish a thought from before we transition to this. The weapon durability, I'd like to see some kind of change made. throw a concession in there. Give us a way of adding to the durability, repairing a weapon, because Angie was mentioning like the look of Link and the materials that he had, like the sword and shield and all that. For some reason, Nintendo has been doing this thing for a little while now where they make the stock look of the character the ultimate form. So like if you played through, Breath of the Wild, for example, the Master Sword and just the Hylian Shield become like the ultimate items. And it's like, well, those are just your cool base items. And then at the end of like Ocarina, you get the cool stuff like the Bigoron Sword and then the Mirror Shield, the gauntlets. It's like you want to see kind of an upgraded version of the character. There was another one that did this. I think it was Metroid. I think they made one of Samus's suits end up being just their stock. Anyway, I'm straying a little bit. My point is like Link should just be in his coolest form from the get-go, or at least have the option for it. But I would like to see weapon durability dealt with to some extent. But in terms of this game, I'm not interested in the sky exploration. I just don't think it looks fascinating. What it feels like to me was Nintendo was like, well, we spent a lot of time building up this overworld for Hyrule and Breath of the Wild. How do we add to it without having to do too much? And it's like, well, there's nothing in the sky. Just put whatever you want up there because there's nothing there already. And then boom, here goes all these little floating islands. But at least to this point, they don't look that interesting to me. And I can't help but think of Skyward Sword, and being in the sky was my least favorite part of that game. So it's giving me some deja vu from that. So to be fair, they might do it way better than they did in Skyward, and I'll eat my words later. But right now, I'm not interested in the sky stuff. I'm also a little disappointed that it is a return to Hyrule. I just feel like the whole point of Breath of the Wild was like exploring the hell out of Hyrule in that game. And so unless you've made significant changes to the overworld, I mean, what are you going to do? Like maybe add some new towns or shops or rebuild certain areas, but ultimately it's the same map. So I just feel like that's a missed opportunity there. Like give us a new region for Link to explore or something, or anything, a dark version or something. But the way it is now, that is another thing I'm not super interested in. I can see swimming's just going to be the same as it was. That's another bit of a letdown. I might be a little contrary in terms of the fusing of stuff. I'm not really interested in fusing like weapons, like that stupid looking rock hammer thing that they made in the trailer. I'm like, that I have no interest in using that to fight. But the puzzle solving, if they do it well, could be interesting. Where like you're making platforms and using the little blower fan motor things to like move around. Like that could be handled in an interesting way. I'm not as interested in terms of world exploration. Like I don't want to make this giant Duplo block thing because that's what it looks like. It looks like giant, the kid Legos, Duplo blocks. That's what it looks like. There's these big clunky things, and it's like, look, I can make Link roll. I was like, nah, I don't care. It's like, give me a horse. So
like that one. Sorry to cut you off. That one. I think they called it like a rewind function, where that block comes down, and then you just make it go up.
Yeah.
I think that is so lazy. I don't know if it's just me. It just seems so lazy. I'm just going to frustrate the hell out of me, I think.
I'll touch on that in a minute. However, if you're talking just puzzle solving and using elements that you fuse together and build, that could be kind of cool. Although all of that's going to feel a little arbitrary. I mean, in a realistic world, like Breath of the Wild's Hyrule was kind of made to be, I could see chopping down a tree and finding some wood, right? But you're just going to find motor components laying around. Like, here's a fully functioning blower.
I thought that was odd, too.
And you just whack it, and it turns on. Like, I'm sure there'll be a story reason for it.
Right.
I'm sure they're probably going to, like, fall down from the sky islands, right?
Probably.
But I'm just looking at it, I'm like, that's a little too contrived. I don't know if I'm into that. But again, if you factor that into real puzzle solving, there's some potential. So that might be fun. So it looks like, and I don't know for sure, but it seems like the Sheikah Slate is being replaced or at least coupled with whatever this arm thing is that Link's got going on. And so it seems like all the new abilities are tethered to whatever happens with his arm. I don't know if we're going to have access to all the abilities from the Sheikah Slate. It would be a little strange to get rid of them. Especially like you have bombs completely tethered to it. Are you going to return to physical bombs? So I get the sense you'll probably see the Sheikah Slate come back and you can still do what you did with that thing in this game. But now you have the new arm abilities. Yeah, the rewind one, I was a little just kind of like, I guess that might be interesting. I'm sure there's going to be puzzles where you see stuff moving back and forth and Link has to like, you return it. Whatever. I'm holding judgment on that. I'm sure that'll be fine. I'd be very surprised if Nintendo did it and it felt like crap. Link's look is awful. Do not like that barbarian long-haired sandaled thing. Not a fan. Mm-hmm. You better be able to switch up how he looks either quickly or at will, because I'm not interested in playing with him looking like that. I get it. The series is approaching 40 years old. You got to mix things up, I'm sure. But, you play these games for a reason. I play a Zelda game for Link to look like Link, for the most part. That's not appealing to me. But with no idea of what the story is, I just do feel like it's a little hard to get super hyped. I mean, granted, I didn't really know what the story was for Breath of the Wild all that much, but when you played Ocarina of Time and then Majora's Mask was coming out, you at the very least knew it's a 3-day cycle. You are repeating these days. The moon is going to crash, and you're fighting the enemy that's in the title of the game, Majora. Mm-hmm. Like, that was enough setup. And, like, that's an example of one of my favorite Zelda narratives. They had a ton of story, and I thought was done really well.
Oh, yeah. Especially the side quests with all the masks. You get so many good stories.
Yep. So, for Tears of the Kingdom, so far it's just too blank of a slate, and it looks too much like Breath of the Wild, especially the overworld. So I'm kind of lukewarm on Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm very open to it surprising me. And I am saying on record, I think I'll probably play it and be like, this is really good. But right now, I'm not pumped for it.
Well, I got to go with what Dom said, that this is looking like Breath of the Wild DLC. And if Nintendo doesn't want people to think that, or if they think that that's an unfair conclusion, they really have only themselves to blame here, because they've been so conservative with how much information they've released to a fault. And to Robert's point, yeah, I mean, I remember when games like Ocarina and Majora came out and subsequent Zelda games after that, and you had Nintendo Power and other publications where you got a ton of screenshots, a ton of information. I remember when Twilight Princess came out and I was in high school, and I'd go to the computer lab every morning and check IGN to see if there were new screenshot dumps, because sometimes there would be, and they wouldn't even announce it. There would just be like, if you'd go to the game and the game's listing on their site, they'd have all the available screenshots, and sometimes there would just be new ones that would appear in anticipation of the game coming out. Now, with Tears of the Kingdom, the pendulum has swung the other way, and it's like you get barely any information at all.
And what you did get is like copy-paste overworld.
Right.
And yeah.
And so it makes me wonder, I wonder if this is actually a red flag, that they don't want to give out too much information about the game. And I would hope not, but I don't know. But from what I've seen, I, like Robert, and sounds like you too, Dom, I'm lukewarm. I'm cautiously optimistic, but my expectations are not set very high. Part of it is, I feel like that 10-minute gameplay dump didn't really help very much. If anything, it may be even more lukewarm, because just to echo some of the things you guys have already said, the crafting mechanic, I really, really hope that early overworld exploration does not require fusing together logs and fans and other odds and ends to get across. I really don't want to have to do that constantly. It's fine if it's a novelty. It's fine if you have to do it a couple of times, whatever. But if it's like, you have to do this until you get Epona, or you have to do this until you get, I don't know, like a glider or whatever, I'm not going to be super pleased with that. I just like what Robert said about the sky. As soon as I saw those sky islands the first time they were revealed, I, along with a lot of other people, just thought Skyward Sword. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why are you retreading this? And of course, given what I've already said about Skyward Sword here today, you can imagine my disappointment. The measure of my disappointment when I was like, really? We're getting more Skyward or Skyward Light or whatever this is. And yeah, I mean, the new abilities, to Robert's point, I do think, Robert, that we're probably going to get all of the former abilities and then some new ones. Just kind of like the way that Aonuma was talking about it. He was like, let me show you some new abilities Link is getting.
I do kind of wonder if it would be good or bad if you start off with everything you had for the most part, maybe at least in terms of abilities in this game. Maybe not weapons. Just a quick side point on weapons. One of the other things that sucked were the unique weapons you could never replace. Like some of the stuff I think you could get from the champions. It's like, so you could get this cool thing, and if you break it, it's just gone.
You can replace them.
You can replace all of them?
Yeah.
We have to craft them?
Each of the cities, or like, whatever, tribal cities, has an NPC who will let you take like one other set weapon plus a diamond and exchange those for a new version of the champion item.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel a little better. Anyway, I'll mess around with that later because I would avoid using those weapons. I had them on display in Link's house because I didn't want to lose them. But
yeah,
I wonder if it would be better if the game starts off and is like, hey, we know that you mastered all these cool things in Breath of the Wild. Start off with them here and start learning the new abilities or unlocking them. Or if it'd be better if you have to open everything. I feel like if you have to get everything back, that would be a little redundant.
Well, in terms of what I want's not going to happen. I don't think that Nintendo's going back from this point. I think this is Zelda moving forward. And that is, it's a little heartbreaking for me, having all these decades of my life invested in this series. And like Robert said, 40 years in, nearly 40 years in, it's understandable that you want to mix things up, but fundamentally changing what this game is into, as I said before, what looks like just like a big sandbox demo environment where you just fart around, just blowing shit up or throwing yourself into the sky or whatever. That's not Zelda. And I think that Nintendo thinks that they're being clever. It's like, well, Zelda's always been about exploration. So let's turn that dial up to 10 and swing the pendulum more towards exploration and less about combat. And yeah, they showed you combat in the 10-minute demo, but it really was more about like how to approach combat a funky way, an intuitive way. It's like, again, if I want to do something like funkier, weirder, intuitive or whatever, or go build something, go craft something, I'll go play Animal Crossing. I don't want to play Animal Crossing in Hyrule. I'm okay with it being in Hyrule again. Termina's cool. Koholint, it was cool. The different places that Link's been in other games is cool, but I'm totally fine with Hyrule. Mm-hmm. It's just, why is it the exact same, like basically the exact same environment? So that's a little frustrating. But yeah, I don't want weapons breaking again. I think it's almost positive weapons are breaking again, because if sticks can break and your other weapons, your fused weapons can break, it's probably still a component of the game. But like Robert and Dom have said, if there's something that you can do to mitigate that, to make the weapons more durable for longer, that would be great. A better story, better narrative, better storytelling would be appreciated, because there are things that weren't addressed in Breath of the Wild that I thought were odd, but they're like right in your face. And especially if you've been playing Zelda for a long time, you have so many questions. Like, this was such a minor thing, but the arm wraps that Link is wearing in Breath of the Wild are the Gerudo pattern that Ganondorf has on his outfit in Ocarina of Time. And it's a Gerudo pattern that you see in Gerudo Valley. So it's like, why is Link wearing Gerudo armbands? What does that have to do with him? His character? You never get an answer to that question. But there are lots of things like that in Zelda throughout the other games.
Not to interrupt you, but that also raises questions, because there's the timeline issue.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of what is on Hyrule's surface in Breath of the Wild that shouldn't be there, because it contradicts the alleged different timelines. So It's like, So everything, I guess, converged. And if it did, why? Because like they talk about like the sea salt, right? Or the rock salt or whatever.
Rock salt.
Where it's like there was a giant ocean here. It's like, well, that's funny because that doesn't jive with the timeline because the Wind Waker timeline, you wouldn't have seen, whatever other thing.
Yeah, as much as I love Wind Waker, and I do love that game a lot, the ending created a lot of problems, and I think Nintendo wrote themselves into a corner, especially when they got to Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, and they were like, nobody really likes these games. So, anyway,
I hate those games.
I mean, they were not very good, especially Spirit Tracks. But anyway, so just what I would want, I know is not going to happen, but the things that are more realistic are like, basically things that I've already said. But
I want to throw one last thing in because I forgot it and I don't think I mentioned it, but I want to see temples.
yeah,
Like, you can give me shrines. I want both. I'm greedy. Give me the shrines, but I want to see a return to proper dungeons.
yeah, there's no reason why you can't have both, and I would like that. And I think it's a realistic ask. Go ahead,
seriously,
Dom.
because so they basically have the groundwork done since day one.
Yeah.
They had Breath of the Wild, so they better spent that time and resources somewhere like dungeons.
Yes, the
real temples.
the actual content. You have the overworld, you have the engine, you have the mechanics down. So focus on the narrative and the content.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, so I played. This is the last thing I'll say before moving on to you, Zach. But I played the Hyrule Warriors games, and I played both of them to completion. But what was the one that was the Breath of the Wild?
Age of Calamity.
Yeah, Age of Calamity. Man, I put a lot of hours in Age of Calamity. I think I put like 100 and something. So, and I got like, the special, the secret ending, all of it. Zelda's character is so whiny. Like, it's like you feel bad for her. You understand what her problem is, and you sympathize to a degree. But there's a little bit of this like, well, we can't just have Zelda be the damsel in distress. We have to make her a more active character. We have to give her more agency, whatever. But like the like little short haircut that they've given Zelda, like I'm not really liking the look of that, and I just kind of get this sense that she may play a greater role. I don't know if she's going to be playable. Maybe that's one of the things that they don't want to reveal yet. But I'm just worried that they might like try and kind of give Zelda a more central role to the story, but not. I mean, she obviously has one in Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity, but I feel like I don't really want it to become a Zelda story. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, Zach.
Zelda's gonna actually become Zelda.
Yeah.
Like, all this time it's like people mistakenly call Link Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. And I just hope that they don't try and make her like either the new heroine or whatever, because it's like, she's fine. I definitely prefer her in other games like Ocarina, Twilight, Wind Waker, but her character is way too whiny.
It's time for a remake of one of the games. Let's remake one of the good games.
Yeah.
It's all Angie wants in this life is for Nintendo to take the Resident Evil 4 remake approach to Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
We're waiting for it. I mean, I love what they did with it on 3DS, but
Yeah.
Maybe an even more realistic version on Switch. Oh, man.
So for me, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom. I think most everything I liked about Breath of the Wild is going to carry forward into the Tears of the Kingdom. I think the barbarian aesthetic is really cool.
Zach is our resident barbarian guy.
Yeah, as soon as I could get the barbarian armor in Breath of the Wild, I was like wearing that nonstop. It's got like a Lionel skull that he's wearing as a hat, right?
I'm surprised you're not a bigger Conan fan, or a Conan fan at all, really.
Yeah, Robert asked me that last night, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I like the aesthetic. I like his like shaggy hair. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I want him in a toga the whole game, but it's kind of cool as like a one-off.
It's his gladiator sandals.
Yeah, exactly.
You do wonder why he is like that. Like, I'm very interested in the narrative. How does he end up looking like this?
Yeah. In terms of his abilities that have been shown off in the gameplay trailer, the fusing for like weapons, the fusing for like vehicle parts. I think Rewind has a lot of options in terms of like puzzles and things like that. The fusing for weapons, I think, is awesome. When I was watching like that gameplay demo and Aonuma attached a rock to a stick, I got like a big smile on my face. And by the time he attached a spear to a pitchfork or whatever, I was like actually laughing out loud. I loved it. I do think, I don't think any of you mentioned this. They mentioned like during that gameplay demo that fused weapons have much higher durability than non-fused. So I think that's like how they're getting around it. Is like you need to use 2 items instead of 1, but what you get in exchange is something that's good for a while.
Yeah, but then I got like, a spork attached to a pencil.
Yeah,
I still look
Yeah,
stupid.
I don't want the Master Sword with a shroom on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The mushroom.
This stuff is awesome, man.
I did think it was kind of neat, the bow, where it was like you make fire arrows by adding elements to it.
Choo-choo jelly. And
It does feel like semantics a little bit because you could just buy electric arrows and fire and ice, but now they're saying just make them doing this. But I'm sure there's different types. Like the homing arrow was kind of neat.
The homing arrow,
yeah.
and who knows? Like people have been joking online about they noticed that a slab of meat was one of the options. So they were like, "What does a meat arrow do?" And I'm thinking like it's probably bait, right? Like you probably shoot it, and then the enemies go and investigate it. But
Ganondorf's mesmerized by the steak that you just shot on.
Yeah.
So I'm
Like,
interested.
why did he do that?
Thank you.
Personally, I really like the aesthetic of a boulder stuck to a tree branch. I think that's beautiful. I was more lukewarm on first blush on the vehicle stuff, like fusing logs together and right. And in terms of exploration, I don't really want to go full Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts in a Zelda game. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like the vehicle stuff could be really cool in a combat scenario. Like the same way they have like goblins riding like horses in Breath of the Wild. Maybe they could have, bokoblins riding like a bunch of bokoblins stacked up on some like makeshift vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And then you can imagine like Link like using his fuse ability to like pop off a wheel while the goblins are trying to ride on it. Like that could be really cool, right? And then I was also thinking like, well, what if you could like stack explosive barrels on some kind of vehicle and just like coast it on down into a goblin camp, right? Like there's a lot of fun stuff you could do with this stuff in kind of combat scenarios. So I'm excited for that. I'm hopeful that the addition of the fuse mechanic for weapons does ease up on how punishing the durability system seems. In terms of the fact that Hyrule is being reused, I want to say they can't get away with just like using the exact same layout, right? So there's got to be some kind of like, whether it's some kind of cataclysm that reconfigures how things are like shaped, or it's, I don't know, like time travel or something where you're like in a past or future version of Hyrule, but they can't just have you explore like the same landmass again. There's no way they can get away with that.
See if they're going to try. I hope not.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Nintendo is not above cutting corners in these ways.
Yeah.
But I think the Sky Islands could be cool. I know like there have been like underground stuff that's been shown off in some of the trailers too. Not like gameplay trailers, but like story trailers have been underground segments. So maybe they go full Yakuza 4 and add like the above and below to the Kamurocho of Hyrule. Mm-hmm. I'd be perfectly happy to leave behind the Sheikah Slate abilities from Breath of the Wild, Bomb, Stasis, Cryonis, whatever. And if they want to replace that with a new set, I think that would be a good way to make a lot of existing stuff feel fresher. But if you guys notice, like Zelda is holding a Sheikah Slate in some of the like art and trailers for the game, and it looks different than it does in Breath of the Wild. So I think it's
sure everyone each had their own, right? It was like the iPad of that world.
Well, I don't know, but I would guess like if Zelda is playable, probably she has the traditional Sheikah Slate abilities and Link has new stuff. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I bet you that she's not playable and she's probably like an AI controlled partner. Mm-hmm. Is she AI controlled in is it Phantom Hourglass or is it Spirit Tracks where she has the big armor?
That's Phantom Hourglass.
Is it?
Yeah, Phantom Hourglass.
I think it's Spirit Tracks where she has the armor. But regardless,
maybe I'm just thinking of
because she's not truly playable in that one, if I'm remembering correctly. But she factors in because she can run around as the armor. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if she's an exploration partner, but like you can't truly control her, but maybe you can affect some of what she does remotely.
Yeah,
I think she might have her own like playable side segments in some cases.
Nothing will ever top Peach's playable side segments in Paper Mario when you're baking with her and doing all that other stuff in the castle.
Yeah.
I used to love those segments.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I don't have much hope for like the story stuff. I do still hope it'll be better than Breath of the Wild, though. I think Breath of the Wild's structure of like a flashback heavy story, not great. But even that could have worked if it had just been better. I don't know how much interest Nintendo has in telling a better story, but I hope they do. Because I think there's not really, like, obviously a nonlinear game, like an open world game, has some challenges that it presents in terms of storytelling, but that doesn't mean it has to suck. Mm-hmm. And I do think that the story in Breath of the Wild is not great. There's some bones that could have worked, but just like the characters are like really basic and tropey in Breath of the Wild. All the champions are like, okay, you're the rival, you're the other love interest, you're the like older brother, you're the big sister, right? Like that's kind of like all they were.
Yeah. Very anime.
Yeah. So there's room for improvement. I don't have like the highest hopes in terms of how much they'll improve, but it wouldn't be hard to best Breath of the Wild in terms of story. Yeah. The one other thing I want to say is, besides the fact that I'm just like really looking forward to the game, is you guys know who, at least the two of you know who Kit and Krista are, right? So Kit,
the two of us, meaning me and Robert.
Yeah, because we've met them.
Yep.
Right.
Yep,
Yes.
we met him.
Kit has been on record like before the
Tell the people in case they don't know who those two are.
They used to work for Nintendo.
Nintendo Minute.
Yeah, just like, I don't know, YouTube influencer types that Nintendo had hired to just,
They do fun little segments.
be a relatable face for Nintendo. Yeah. They have like their own independent podcast now, but Kit specifically is on record like before the promotion cycle for Tears of the Kingdom started, saying like Nintendo did not want to say anything about Breath of the Wild before it came out, and American personnel at Nintendo had to beg Nintendo of Japan for permission to say anything, share anything about the game in advance of its launch. Nintendo didn't want to spoil anything. And he was saying like Breath of the Wild performed so well that he was saying like, I bet Nintendo is not going to share anything about Tears of the Kingdom because they don't think they have to. They know people are going to buy it and love it anyhow. So the fact that Nintendo hasn't shared anything may just mean that they don't think they have to. There may be more surprises. I think it's entirely reasonable to think that there will be like full-on dungeons, right? Especially now that it's strictly on stronger hardware, that it's not held back by the Wii U. More interesting aesthetic, maybe more in terms of story. I don't know exactly, but I do think it's not strictly copium to think that there's more than Nintendo is holding back that they haven't shown.
Yeah.
I would like to see a more punchy color palette. Breath of the Wild, I remember kind of not being super colorful in spots.
No, there was a lot of brown in a lot of areas, especially the mountainous regions.
That was one of the things Majora's Mask did that I appreciated, where it brought a lot of color in that Ocarina didn't have.
Yeah, Ocarina had more of a natural, almost watercolor type palette. It was actually very beautiful in different places, but it was more natural. There were only a couple of places where there were a lot of bright, punchy colors, but Majora was a very rich, jewel-toned world.
I think Zach's point just now is kind of fair. It's actually funny if you think about it, because if you think, has Zelda ever really let you down that much? I mean, the worst games in the series are probably still some of the best games in a lot of other series. So it's like even Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, like Angie says she doesn't like them. Zach, I'm assuming you probably don't like those games.
I played, what was the first one of those? Phantom Hourglass. I did not like the touch controls enough to stick with it.
What about you, Dom?
Yeah, I didn't stick with it.
Yeah.
See, I enjoyed it, and it got reviewed pretty well when it came out. So at the very least, you could maybe say those games were divisive. We're sitting here kind of complaining about not knowing a lot about Tears of the Kingdom before going in, but it's like, it's going to have to try really hard to fuck up. Like
No, I get what you mean. Like,
like Zelda has some rented credibility, or not rented, but like there's some credibility in the bank for Zelda. So it's like, if a Zelda game wants to come out and say, we're not giving you anything, like you're going to spend $70 and like it, and just, like you're going to get it and you're going to play it, and then no one's going to care what the marketing was up to this point. I think if anyone's earned that, Zelda's probably earned it.
Yeah, we do know that they think it's worth $70, right? They could have held off until their next console to bring things up to a $70 price point. They've specifically said, we think Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is worth $70.
Well, they spent how many years on development? 5 minimum. 6 years.
Well, I mean, 6 years between games. I don't know how much of that was active development because like they probably finished up the DLC for Breath of the Wild before they started properly on Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Wasn't that much though? Like the DLC, they've probably been working on it for 6 years. Knowing Nintendo, they probably restarted 3 times.
Well, they didn't restart that drastically because it's still clearly on the bones of Breath of the Wild, right?
Oh, I mean, who knows, right?
But like Dom called this like he was worried it was going to be like a glorified DLC for Breath of the Wild, basically, or it kind of looks like that. Yeah. And like for me though, like worst case scenario, if it is basically glorified Breath of the Wild DLC, yeah, I'd pay $70 for that. Like I love Breath of the Wild.
It is shaping up to be an interesting year in terms of games. Like there's been a lot of notable, solid, good games this year, and the year's not even done. And then who knows what secrets await us? Because once the E3 season rolls around, even without E3, Nintendo and these other studios are going to do their little showcases. So it's what other games are we going to get by December?
My list is like completely. In terms of what I've been looking forward to this year, it's like all in the first half. So I don't know what I'm going to do in the second half, but
well, that's how they like it, right? They don't let you know until the summer, and then you know what you'll be playing in fall and winter.
We'll see.
Oh, it's just, I believe it's been 25 years since Ocarina, right? This year's 25th year because it came out in 98, and was it 2023? I believe that's 25 years. All I know is we're not getting anything having to do with Ocarina. Well, they probably,
you don't know yet.
They probably won't even acknowledge the 25th anniversary of the game this year because they don't want to overshadow Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm excited for Tears of the Kingdom, but I actually am still waiting for them to give us the re-releases of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. Like, that's been a rumor for a few years now that, like, they're in the can, they're done. Nintendo's just sitting on them. It's like, can we get them now, please? Because I really want to play Wind Waker again. I don't feel like hooking up the Wii U, which is dead anyway, and I don't feel like playing. I mean, I'm not against playing the original, but like the remake was really neat, and I want to experience it again. And
yeah,
if you want to play Wind Waker on a, and yeah, if you ever need any help setting up Dolphin, you know where to find me.
Well, thank you for joining us for this scintillating conversation about the past, present, and future of the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom universe.
Before we sign off, the Mario movie is coming out next week.
Yep,
so
Wednesday.
Expect us to talk about that, and you should go see it.
And yeah, it's been a good one. I'll catch you on the next one.